a solo flawless Warlord's Ruin during Season of the Wish to obtain the Tattered Regalia emblem. This is what the new solo flawless emblem looks like for the dungeon. Do I think it's good? I think the top banner looks good with the gate and stuff, but the actual square thumbnail of it with this Scorn logo doesn't look that good, but the banner looks okay. So I think it's okay, but I think there are better solo flawless emblems like the way they look, like Prophecy and stuff. So that's what that is. Bear in mind, I've been on a hiatus on the game, so I barely played. I did do my solo GM Conqueror sale this season, though, but that was no big deal to do that because of the mods and stuff. But I haven't really been playing Destiny 2. So I've only just played this dungeon this week. I didn't play it at launch. I haven't stepped foot in here once, so bear that in mind. It's only this week I've started to play it, and I've learned all the mechanics basically myself. Basically learned, went in there, checked the spawns, didn't go to any other videos really, just checked it all on myself because I like to do it myself. So there's 3 bosses in this dungeon. We're going to be doing loadout swapping, surge switching to increase our damage. I recommend that you do it. It's not a cheese, it is something in the game. If there's no equipment locked on, I do recommend that you do it. It's going to save you time. If you don't, your damage is just going to be, your run's going to be longer, therefore you increase risk of death. So there's 3 bosses in total in this dungeon, which is new to it. I'm using 4 builds. There's 6 builds, but essentially 5, 3, 4, 6. They're all the same build, right? It's just that the hand cannon's slightly different. So for boss 1, we're using Scatter Signal, a solar hand cannon, and Dragon's Breath. Then we'll surge switch for DPS to here. And then for boss 2, the Ogre boss, we use a Scatter Signal, which is non-crafty, by the way. I recommend that you go and craft the fusion. It will help you out massively. I'm using a stock roll fusion, which isn't that good. Slice didn't benefit me, not on a Warlock. That's more Hunter gameplay. So I wanted to craft this, but I have 0 out of 5 red borders. Why? Because I haven't played this season. That just is what it is. So that's what we're using for boss 2, and then we'll surge switch for DPS again. Then for the final boss, we'll switch to Supremacy as our DPS with Dragon's Breath again. So Dragon's Breath is the theme for the entire run, with a solar hand cannon, of course. And then surge switch for DPS. This is what my artifact mods are. Oops. Go on here. These are what my artifact mods are. Make sure that you get them right, because they're very important, especially Solo Operator and the solar mods. For the first boss, we're using Daybreak. Second boss, we use Daybreak, right? The final boss we use Well Radiance, but I could see me using Daybreak instead, but you'll see the run as it follows. So those are the things I recommend that you bring. Maybe bring a long range weapon for the traversal sections, just in case when you want to swap. But that is all my loadouts that I used for the solo flawless. So for editing purposes with the video, I sped up the traversal sections in this solo flawless run. So if you've never done the traversal sections and you need to know the route, this video is not going to help you that way. What this video is going to help you out is the 4 main encounters in the fight, well, in the dungeon, 3 bosses, and I would consider when you get locked up as an encounter type thing. I would say that. And there's a lot of traversal in this dungeon. So if you've never done it, you shouldn't be watching it either or. But if you're still struggling with your solo flawless, because I'm aware that since the dungeons came out, people are still struggling with this. Bear in mind, it took me not much time to get my solo flawless, and I've only just started playing this dungeon as of Wednesday. And I knew nothing about it. I didn't really know the mechanics, didn't know anything about it, what you do, what you need to do, what you don't need to do. So this video is going to go through all that. But like I say, if the video is less than 60 minutes, because I'm on PlayStation 5, it helps me edit the video easier. So that's why I've sped up the traversal sections. But all the important information is in this run. Everything that you would need to help you solo flawless this dungeon is in the video. So the mechanics for the first boss, what's he called? Raphael or whatever, right? Scorn boss. So every boss has the mechanic with the traps that Scorn lay down. Whatever these are called, I don't know what they're called, right? You need to stand in the circle and wait for the taken energy to glow white. If you successfully do 2 traps, you will get an extension of DPS. Right? So you can see Naeem's Wish Empowerment was 18 seconds or whatever. That means I've successfully done 2 traps. If I'd only done 1 trap, your DPS time is halved or something. So there's a bit of mastery with it, but there's also RNG with it. So our DPS rotation there was Dragon's Breath, debuff via melee ability, then super, then once we exit super, another Dragon's Breath, because it'll have reloaded itself, then scatter signal ammo, right? That then allows you to do almost half HP. The problem with this fight, well, it's not a problem, but it is as well. It's a bit of a gripe of mine. You're not going to get a super for phase 2 unless you skip the phase. More on that in a bit. So when you get, how the DPS, how the mechanic starts is when the buff starts, the Intimate Wish buff, you will then be transported into a cage. You need to shoot the blights. 3 blights. Sometimes the blights are in a good rotation, sometimes they're not. Emote if you're struggling to find the last blight, which I was at times. You'll see in the run sometimes I emote, because that's going to put you in a third person angle. You've got to shoot that final blight to get out of the cage quicker. The quicker you get out of the cage, the better this is. So we've successfully done 2 traps there, so we get an extension of DPS, you can see, but we have no super. So how do you counter doing boss damage when you have no super? Because there is going to be ads alive. Well, Dragon's Breath will come into its own and kill some of the ads while you're doing DPS, right? So that damage rotation there was really good. So this is going to be a solo 3 phase. I think I end up doing solo 3 phase in this. There's people solo 1 phase, I think, and 2 phase. I'm not sure. Like, you can tell me. I know nothing about what people have done with this dungeon because I haven't watched barely anything. There's only 1 or 2 guys I've watched about this dungeon, so I don't know the advancements of what people have done and what they can do. Because obviously you've got solo operator, so things are easier that way. So I also like to do a Dragon's Breath. Spam it. Because Dragon's Breath is anarchy. Remember this. So it's not a weapon that you keep shooting back to back, and I'm sure that you know that by now, right? So it's anarchy. Think of it as anarchy. As Destiny 2 players, this is the closest thing to anarchy, but it's in rocket launcher form, right? Try to manage your time as best as possible. Like I said, with the Intimate Wish, it is RNG. Sometimes you might not be able to get the final one. Like, look, I'm on 0 seconds. Do I activate it? I think I do. Just. That's literally half a second away from not activating. That's what I'm saying. It's RNG where the boss puts his traps. If the traps are back to back on each other, it's easy days. But that's RNG. I don't see any way of controlling that. There's no way of controlling where the boss puts his traps per se, like to have them overlapping on each other. And if that doesn't happen, it means that you've got to cap a point, run to the next point, and by that time you might not have capped the both trap points. And it's just the reality of it. So if you don't solo 3 phase, don't worry about it, because the boss fight is really quick. So you need to look to your left to see what the skeleton says. This is really straightforward. I can't remember what numbers I just saw there on there, but obviously I'm following it. So the best RNG for you is to get 1, because 1 means you need a clockwise, right? So you need to shoot it 3 times for clockwise, once for counterclockwise, right? And then to stop it twice. So if you get 5, it's the worst RNG that you can get, because it means you need 5 clockwise dials. You need to watch this a few times to understand it, because I didn't understand it this week, because I've never touched this dungeon. That's how you solo do it. I believe the team way of doing it slightly different or something than some more doors are shut. I don't know, because I haven't even played in a fire team to know that. But it's really straightforward. So whatever the skeleton tells you is clockwise, and then the rest of them, so if it's 3, that means 3 clockwise and then 3 anti-clockwise. But as I said, if you get 1, that's 1 clockwise, 5 anti-clockwise. Anti-clockwise, the more anti-clockwise dials you have, the better it is. So I've sped up the maze bit, but I will say you were very easy to die here. Make sure you jump over the traps. The vents on the side, you need to do that. If you don't know this bit, I recommend you explore this puzzle. I'm not really going to go into it too in depth, but you can lose your solo flows so easy. I lost a couple of runs this week due to this puzzle, because I didn't want to watch a video to say, oh, how'd you do it? I wanted to just experience it myself. So there's a part of fun in that, right? But if you're somebody that doesn't want to go through the pain of that, then, like I say, make sure that you watch where you need to go, the routing. You need to learn the route, because traversal in this dungeon is actually quite harsh. I didn't realize how harsh it was. Like, I thought Ghost of the Deep was bad with the underwater sections, but actually I think this is actually slightly harder than that, because there's cliffs that fall. Like on this bit, there'll be cliffs that fall, and if you don't know, you'll die to your death. So all this stuff needs to be known in advance. Once you know that stuff in advance, this is fine. I know the routing by now. I should do. And if I die, it's probably 90% because of me rather than the game. It's probably due to falling off map or whatever. Like that cliffside right there, the one below, will fall. I'm going to Icarus dash up in there. There's different ways with Warlock builds for survivability. There's the Phoenix Dive approach with consuming your grenade with heat rises. I don't like heat rises. I'm sure you know. I only use heat rises with sunbraces, but I'm not using a sunbracer loadout. I'm using Dawn Chorus. Dawn Chorus increases scorch ability for everything, including Dragon's Breath, because it does scorch damage. So it's just a different way of getting restoration. I just throw my healing nade down and then go to town with the solar hand cannon. Now before I used a different solar hand cannon, but now I'm going to use this hand cannon here, which right now I can't remember the name of. I'm going to have to look at Dim. I have a clue what it's called. Epochal Integration. So the reason why this hand cannon is good is because it's basically the Last Wish hand cannon, not quite as good because it's not craftable, but it's a light version of that, and it's very, very good with incandescent and stats for all. This hand cannon is so good, don't sleep on it, and it's a high impact, which is good. So now we've got the mechanics for this next fight, the ogre fight. So you're still using the traps. The traps are in every single encounter, but now you've got a biting cold. So when Imminent Wish starts, which is, it doesn't seem to be set. The Imminent Wish buff starts when you start to fight the Scorn mini boss. I pick the Scorn mini boss on the left. There's one on the right as well, but stick to a routine. My routine is left. Why? Because I'll tell you why. Because the left Scorn guy puts his trap up a little better than what the guy on the right does, because the right guy might put his trap on a separate platform, meaning you've got to jump and stuff. The goal is to get 2 traps stacked so that you cap both. It's just like control PvP. It's the same thing. You just need, but if you get them overlapped, you'll cap both, and more on the biting wins. So when you've got biting wins, when it gets to stack times 10, you die instant wipe. But you need to realize that you need to go to the solar sticks at the back of the map to refresh your buff to get rid of biting winds. I recommend that you leave at times 6 no matter what. I've tested it, because if you go at times 7, there's a chance of death if Ogre knocks you, which he can knock you. 6 is safe. Go with times 6. So pop a rift on your cap points and just crouch and look for times 6. It's really difficult to look at the buff with all the whiteness on the screen, and with the UI not being updated yet, which they're going to update UI for buffs and debuffs eventually. But right now in the game, it's terrible. And I noticed with this dungeon, it's really bad for looking at debuffs, right? Because you've got so many buffs, you've got this going on, that going on, you've got 4 lines of text. And that's an in-game coding problem, which has been like this for a long time. They can't have more than that on screen, but obviously they're going to fix that. But I found it to be a problem and daunting to look at your debuffs and your buffs while you've got buffs that could instantly, debuffs that could instantly kill you, like the biting cold, or the debuff with the adhesion something, whatever it's called at the farm boss, where you have to melee, you have to play tag with one of the enemies. But the blights spawn in the mini bosses. You need 4 relics in middle, which are balls of fire, basically relics that you put outside. This boss fight is nearly almost perfectly made. What's wrong with it? The only thing wrong with it is the boss. When you're trying to play, he pushes you back. But when you're doing DPS to him, he's not a problem at all. I really enjoy this boss fight. I would say it's like Shattered Throne, but better. You know, the ogre in Shattered Throne, it's the same as that in my opinion. There's 4 podiums, just you go about it a different way. You can control the Scorn mini bosses very easily. You just wait until they put a second trap, because when you kill them, you get another trap. So then that's where you get 2 traps. If you mess up, you'll only get 1 trap, which means you have to do another cycle to get another orb. You won't wipe, it just means you do another wave of mini bosses. But you can only get 4 max relics, so once it gets to 4, that's it. But a key point is, if you kill all the blights when you've got 4 relics again, you'll get the mini bosses, which will proc Imminent Wish, therefore proc and biting wins. So if you're dunking relics and you've already got 4, but a blight dies, right? The mini bosses spawn again, and you could die from biting cold. So the name of the game is keep a blight alive. So I kill all blights bar one. Also, try not to jump. If you saw that, I nearly died because the boss pushed me off map. Because it's an ogre that pushes you, right? It's momentum against you. So if you jump, that's going to amplify the momentum with the ogre's pushback. So run everywhere. Boots on the ground always. And if you are going to knock off map, Icarus Dash. That's why I love Icarus Dash. I'm an Icarus Dash main on Warlock. I hate Heat Rises the jump. The only reason why I like Heat Rises is for Supremacy's gameplay. If I'm not using Supremacy's gameplay, if I'm using any other exotic, I'm always Icarus Dash. Icarus Dash doesn't provide anything, just movement, but that's just what I go with. So we'll dunk the final orb. I've got a rotation, so rocket launcher super. We're using Daybreak. It's going to do massive damage because of ability damage, right? Plus the Dawn Chorus amplifies. Then we'll rocket again. Couple of scatter signal shots if we can. Time has run out. Biting Cold will come into play when you step out of the ring. We'll proc a nade and kill some of these for all. We don't need to rush to DPS. This is like Callus from Leviathan. You don't need to rush to each plate for damage. You can take your time, pick up ammo, think about it. But there is a risk to play because the longer you take to get to the next plate, the quicker the boss gets to you and knocks you back. So you've got to like you just saw there. So you've got to manage risk at all times. There's snipers that can hit you as well. So manage your HP. You're not going to have a healing ray for every phase. Like right now, I'm quite weak. I'm going to pop a healing ray for safety. Get another rocket in. Make sure you're rocketing twice per plate with Dragon's Breath. That is the key. And then just use scatter signal. This roll I've got, like I say, I must iterate to you. It's rubbish. I've got a rubbish scatter signal. I still solo free phase, no problem. With a envious assassin scatter signal, right now we're talking, that would be far better than what I'm using. But it just goes to show that this still works, because it does at least have control burst, which is massive damage for fusion rifles, and I'm sure that we all know this. Make sure that you melee when possible as well for the debuff. That's the way you get the damage, because I use Celestial Fire over the other Incinerator Snap. Right, I'll tell you why I don't use Incinerator Snap for a build like Dawn Chorus. Well, you're not going to get, obviously, nades, but you're going to get a debuff off. Celestial Fire is the superior melee to Incinerator Snap for ranged targets, because it has tracking, and it can debuff enemies. I've noticed with Incinerator Snap, if you're standing too far away from the boss, and you use it, it doesn't hit the boss. Like, it does, but not always. And I can't allow for a melee to mess up, because that will mess up the soul free phase. I can't allow for it. So Celestial Fire is a longer cooldown than Incinerator Snap, so it means you're going to get less melees, but you're going to get 2 melees up per 2 melees up for your 4 plates. So 2 of the plates will be a debuff boss, which is huge, right? So I value that. And plus Dawn Chorus Helmet gives you melee ability energy back. This is specific to this season. After this season, Final Shape, things will be completely different. And you probably won't run this loadout, because there won't be solo mods. It'll be all different. We're going to debuff boss, hit him twice, then wait for him to put his trap down. That's my routine, because once you jump over, you hit him with another 2 shots, and then you get your 2 traps. The timing works out. So make sure you prep the mini bosses. Don't just stand there and leave them at full HP, because once he puts his trap down, you've got to then, the timer then starts. So Biting Cold starts when Imminent Wish starts. But Imminent Wish, there's a bit of RNG with when it starts, but it generally starts when the boss puts his trap down. But I have had a run where Imminent Wish starts before the boss even puts a trap down, which is so bad RNG. If that happens to you, just kill him quickly, try and proc the plate, but if you can't get it in time 6 Biting Wind, then go and refresh buff and go for it again. The beauty of this is, don't overcommit to capping a trap point if it means death. That is the point. So if Biting Wind starts, it shouldn't, but sometimes it does. If Biting Wind starts premature, before the boss has even done anything, the mini boss that is, like right now, say it's started now, then just cut your losses. Like right there, he started a bit sooner than what he generally would. So there's a bit of RNG with this, bit of play. That's where you've got to adapt with it. So that's the biggest failing. Is it's a good mechanic with the traps. It's completely unique because think about it. Generally with the trap points, you're meant to shoot them during general gameplay. So we're doing the opposite of what we generally would do. It's a smart, clever idea. The problem with it is what I think they should have done. All right, this is a mechanic change that they should have done. When you kill the mini boss, he spawns 2 trap points, not 1. So instead of him putting up a point, right, you just kill him and you get 2. And I think that's not going to make it easy. It's just going to make it so that you're on a level playing field, so that you know. Because waiting for these bosses to put traps up can be a pain, especially at the final boss. Right now, it's fine. It's not too bad because if a boss does mess up, mini boss that is, it doesn't matter. Like I say, you can go and refresh buying wins, whatever. Whereas at the final boss, it can really affect you if you're waiting for a mini boss to put up a trap and he doesn't. I have a solution to that, and that's what I ended up going with, because I don't like a mechanic that's sort of RNG based. I always like a mechanic to say, right, this is how you do it, master it, and you're rewarded. Also, take an acolytes in mid. They are infinite spawning. The scorn enemies on the backside are infinite spawning. But it's the taken enemies, you want to keep killing them over and over for ammo drops in mid. This makes it much more consistent to get decent damaging. Because if there's no ammo in mid at all, you're not going to have enough fusion rifle ammo for all the plates. So make sure that you wander around with full ammo so that you don't pick up that brick. So for my case, it's 18. So I'm keeping an eye on that. But I'm saving all that ammo drops in mid, right, for during DPS. So, obviously, with the way I do things, I'm going to wait for another Acolyte spawn, because I know the sort of feel for the timing on it. I know that there's going to be a spawn coming up. I'm going to dunk my 3rd relic now. Remember, my rotation is counterclockwise, actually. It starts at top left and goes all the way to top right. That is my routine. I don't recommend that you change it. Pick a routine. So if you want to start at top right, you can. Or bottom left. It's up to you, isn't it? It doesn't matter. That's the player's choice. But that's what I end up doing for this. That's just my routine of things. We'll swap to our Surge build. We do that just before we pick up Final Relic. That's when you do it. That's the best time to do it. Unless you lose damage if you swap on the fly, like during damage. So, same again. Do Dragon's Breath, then pop Super. I didn't do melee because Daybreak does buff itself, right? So what I'm wanting to do is melee on the next plate, right? But you can do it either way, just as long as you are using your melee. I've got a Heal and Rift down, debuff again. The damage is really actually pretty. It's not tight at all. As long as you're in there with your damage and you're actively doing damage and not messing around with adds. You're good enough, right? Then we'll scour for ammo. There's ammo with max again. 3 rockets is enough, but we've actually got some more heavy. Well, actually, no, it's not. You need 2 rockets per plate. So as long as you've got 2 rockets per plate, then that's the correct damage rotation. Dragon's Breath should reload itself, but there is times when it doesn't, and it does annoy me. Sometimes it doesn't, but generally it does. We've got a debuff for final plate, so that has worked out the way I done it there. So I debuffed on plate 2 and plate 4. This is plate 4, right? So that actually worked out doing it that way, because Daybreak debuffs itself because it's an ability, so you don't need to melee on the first plate. You can and you can't, because you're going to get Radiant anyways. So there's a bit of play, but if you look at the damage, we're down to the C. That's 25% left. We can easily melt him on the next plate. We're now going to speed the footage up because I think you've got the picture of what we do now. The only thing I haven't really discussed is the Minotaurs in middle. So the taken Minotaurs are not infinite. They spawn per phase. You need to kill them. You spam Dragon's Breath ammo, you're going to get loads of heavy in these. I had heavy ammo finder on and I was getting tons of heavy. Like to the point where I had more heavy than what I needed to do the job. So that's when you use your Dragon's Breath in mid. when you're doing your infinite restoration, um, every now and then have a look and fire a rocket down at those minotaurs, right? Don't spam it, but every now and then. And then, but when you come to prepping, they're done. It's just acolytes to kill. Makes everything easy. You just need. It's all about routine with dungeons like this. But like I said, this hand cannon was so good for this. I couldn't believe how good it was. I know there's the King's Fall one, and I know you're going to say, why didn't you use that one? Well, this is accessible to anybody. It was via a quest on Neo Moona or whatever. I can't remember what the quest was, but it was accessible to anyone. And like I said, this sand cannon does everything I want it to. It worked out. 10 out of 10. I can't knock it. It was really good. You do need a good solar primary. You need to pick. You've got sidearms, bows, hand cannons. I don't recommend anything other than a hand cannon. This dungeon is a hand cannon. Hand cannons really is the best, I think. You can run an alt rifle with incandescent, and that'll be fine. But a hand cannon's just snappier, better for the whole dungeon, in my opinion. Obviously, there's Sunshot, and I didn't use Sunshot. Reason being is because I think it's a little too easy with Sunshot. I wanted to exclusively do this with Dragon's Breath because it's a new weapon. Everyone has access to it. I know people have access to Sunshot, but that means you're going to have to search a God Roll Heavy out for all that stuff, which not everybody has. Some do. Well, I mean, depends on what heavy you go with. I've seen some bait and switch GLs. I haven't got that. That's from trials or whatever. But, you know, you've got to strategize a little bit more. I think this just works for DPS. In terms of DPS for Dragon's Breath, like for this fight, Dragon's Breath just works. It's made for this dungeon, I think. The problem with Dragon's Breath is that you take self-inflicted damage. So, it does the flames near you, but it also intermittently does scorch damage to a boss. If you're too close, you will instantly die, even if you're in a super, so be very cautious. If you rocket, like, a part of the room, and you're right there, you need to move immediately, unless you will lose your soul fall. So there's one downside to Dragon's Breath, and that is that you can kill yourself. The more you play with Dragon's Breath, the easier, though, it will be. Right? So, it's that whole thing. If you don't play with Dragon's Breath a lot, then it might not be the one for you. You might want to do Sunshot instead, with a decent heavy, whatever it might be, linear rocket, maybe some God Roll rocket you've got, because Overlord rocket buffs it. It'll be up to you at that point, but it just depends. So this works out fine, actually. So like I said, debuffing on plate 2, and then debuffing on plate 4. We've just got our melee now, but it doesn't matter. Because remember, you get melee energy up when you're scorching targets with the Dawn Chorus helmet. He's dead now anyway, as it is. So you can see it's a very comfortable solo free phase. By no means perfect. A good boss fight, in my opinion. There's not too much difficulty with it, if I'm being honest, on this loadout. On other loadouts without restoration, okay, but we're talking about something different then, aren't you? You're talking about, you know, there might be a bit more challenge with that. I don't know, because I haven't run the dungeon with anything else other than Solar to experience it. There's the chest place here, I'm not going to bother with it. So this is just Traversal, so we'll just skip. We'll just, not skip, but we'll speed it up. You can clearly see on screen where to go. I know it's sped up ×2, but that's fine. It doesn't really matter, does it? There's enemies here. I recommend that you do kill them. You could just jump over their heads, but I recommend that you kill them because you're gonna want. I recommend that you use a super coming up. So you get these screebs every now and then. These screebs can knock you off map. Be very careful. When they jump over, like you just jumped there, if you saw it, they can knock you off map, which would be a hard way to go. I've come the wrong way here, that's fine. There's a lot of secrets to this dungeon which I'm not covering in this video. This is strictly just for the solo flawless experience. I don't know a lot about the dungeon, the secrets, too much. Don't tell me too much about them either, because I want to figure them out for myself and experience it. But for now, we're just focusing on the solo flawless element of the vid, not secrets, not where all the chests are. All that stuff's been... That was a month ago, so all that stuff's been figured out, so there's no need for me to make a video about it. You've already experienced all that. This bit is where you want a long-range weapon on. So, you can switch. I'll just put a bow on. This will do. This bit is tricky. Like, first coming here, Like, we got knocked there. Did you see that? We nearly actually fell off map. Some of these rocks crumble as well, like that one. Like, I was like, what is this? So I was so close to losing flawless here because I've only been here a few times. So you've got to be careful on this bit. That's why I say having a long range weapon on will help you out. There's enemies to our right here. We'll use a dragon's breath because they're just gonna creep up on us when we're doing damage. Take care of some of these snipers. There's one more wizard, a couple of snipers up front, and then that's this bit done. There's a couple of moments where there's groups of enemies to kill. There is one that's mandatory, and a couple that aren't. Right, so there's one that's coming up that is mandatory where you need to kill the enemies to open a wall up. But there are some that you can skip. Like, I end up skipping these set of enemies coming up. If you're gonna do this though, make sure you got a nade. You should have a nade, a healing nade that is. Get a healing nade down and then just come over here out the way. There's snipers on this bit. This is the route. I imagine there's some skips as well for this dungeon, like a lot of skips. On things that you can do with strand and stuff and grapple across. I imagine that there is. But like I say, I'm just doing the run as it is. There's a couple of moments where taken shields will try to knock you off map. There's 2 moments where they try and do this. They often do this. They've done that since day one, where they'll bait you with an ad like that to try and knock you off map. So just pay attention to those 2, because you'll get easily knocked off map by those. These enemies are mandatory. You need to kill them. So we'll do that now. Got a superheat to spend. We may as well spend it. Pointless to keep hold of it. I'm going to switch. You don't need to do this, but I'm going to switch. So I'm now on build 1 and 2 for swapping purposes. Always, like when you're organising your loadouts for surge swapping, because obviously the 3 bosses, what you need to do is get your loadouts clear. I delete them all on dim and start a fresh page. You can do that. You can't delete them in game, I don't believe, but I like to have it clear on my loadout screen on what builds what when I'm swapping, because if you swap to the wrong build with a fusion instead of a sniper or something, you've screwed up your DPS. Which I do recommend a sniper for this. There's a couple of snipers that would do good in this. But the sniper that I'm using works out really well with the enhanced kinetic tremors, which it is a raid weapon, but you can get it without raiding. And I've showed you how to solo farm Kali. And you can actually solo farm Kali easier now this season than last because of Dragon's Breath with the Sunbracer build. You can actually melt her really quick. And even better, just farming a team. And you'll be able to get the weapon. If you want, use your deep sight harmonizers because this sniper's that important. I believe it's that important that you should because of enhanced kinetic tremors on the sniper. So with this boss fight, mechanics are the same. Just there's one added mechanic. Instead of biting cold or whatever, you've got to play tag with an enemy. So at the start of every phase, you'll get wizards. Kill the wizards before you kill blights. I think this is obvious, but I'm just going to state it. There are blights that will spawn on the floor randomly, right? You don't need to shoot all the blights to control the area. You don't need to do that at all. Only some places you need to do it. So this is plate 1. There's 4 plates in total. So we're going to Dragon's Breath both enemies scorn, right? Because Intimate Wish has already started. See the left-hand side. We'll heal him with the first trap. This is the way I do it. You will then get debuff, the Vengeful Corruption. Melee him as he melees you. That is the most consistent way. Then Icarus Dash away. If you do it like that, he will not tag you back. Because if he tags you back, then you die. You've just wasted 45 minutes for no reason. So the DPS timer didn't start. It was stuck for some reason. So I done my damage a little too soon there. So I lost damage because of this. And I haven't reloaded Dragon's Breath. So this DPS rotation was terrible. Because I do pre-fire Dragon's Breath like that. But the DPS time was stuck on 0. A little buggy. Why was it stuck on 0? It is annoying. But that's fine. So this is burst damage for the first 3 plates. Then you get your actual damage rotation. That's how this works. There are tricks to extend damage though. You can actually damage twice per plate. Sounds good, but in theory it's not, because actually you end up doubling your work. So you can edge the see the light yellow bar at the bottom where it's light. If you don't do all that damage, you stay on this plate, which means you can edge the boss's HP, then do another damage rotation after that. But that means you've got to kill 4 captains. Do people want to do that per plate? Probably not. I tested the difference between doing that strat or just bursting the boss down, and it worked out that it was just better just to burst the boss down. So I don't recommend doing it. Because of how this boss fight works, it doesn't matter. It's not crucial to you to solo 2-phase. Right? I just was shy of a solo 2-phase because some damage rotations were slightly messed up. Just shy of it though, eh? It made no difference to the run. It actually made Final Stand easier. Because remember, you got Final Stand. So it's rather easy to solo 2-phase this fight. It is. But there is a little RNG with traps and stuff and all that sort of stuff that, like I say, I'm not a massive fan on. I wish that you kill a mini boss and he spawns 2 traps. That would fix this mechanic. Because, like I said, there's different ways of doing it. My strat is just to kill both spawn enemies so that I definitely do get 2 traps. And I start capping a plate as soon as possible. Because the guy, when you get Imminent Wish, I've just got Imminent Wish now, the guy doesn't spawn until later on. Like, he's just spawned now, but I can cap a plate, right? So that's 1 plate capped, and the guy hasn't even come to me yet. And you can melee him anywhere in the map. You don't have to be in the circle traps to do it. So I've transferred buff. The guy will die, but don't let him hit you again. He's now dead on the floor. I pop a well, do my surge switch, and I should have a better damage rotation here. Damage rotation is a little better now, because I've got both traps, I believe. I think I did. And then with just all kinetic tremors with Supremacy. So damage rotation there was a little bit better. That's how it should go. If you miss a trap or anything, you do lose a bit of damage. But like I say, the actual solo 2-phase is counted as the 4 plates is counted as 1 phase. But this isn't like this isn't like Prophecy, where a solo 2-phase makes a big difference between the solo 3-phase. It isn't like Ghost of the Deep, where once you've finished damage, you've got to wait 8 minutes for the next phase. You're getting damage within 2 minutes. So it's not critical for you to get absolutely perfect. Just remember to swap back to your standard off surges. And remember to swap back to your scavenger on your boots every time that you finish a plate, and pick up ammo off each plate. The reason why you do that is because the ammo despawns, because after the first phase is done, that ammo disappears. I think that is true apart from the first plate that doesn't despawn. I think that ammo does stay there. So it's worth your while just picking up all ammo. Right? Just pick up all ammo and then you can proceed to the next plate. So this plate I believe to be the most awkward one. The reason why I think it's the most awkward plate is because one of the mini captains spawns in an awkward place. You can notice I'm getting plenty of heavy, so being able to rocket both mini bosses is viable. It's ammo efficient. What isn't that ammo efficient is my sniper. That's where coming in with the ammo finders, the ammo scavengers, is better. I did try and run special ammo finder and heavy ammo finder, and what I found with that is you get less heavy, but you get way more special. That strategy is not good for me because I need to have plenty of rockets. So if you just have one heavy ammo finder on and no special ammo finder, you get more heavy. And I noticed that. Somebody commented me last month saying that they adjusted ammo drops based on activity basis, and I feel that in here. I feel that you do get a lot of heavy if you run a heavy ammo finder, but if you run a special finder with it, you get less heavy. It's kind of a weird thing. I did notice it with playing it this week. So we farmed up our ammo. We're going to spawn in the captains. So what I'm trying to do here is save a well for DPS for the plates above. It didn't work out well. Literally. We're going to kinetic tremor this boss because the hothead didn't hit him exactly. What we're trying to do here is just get to damage with a healing rift, but obviously we've used it, so I've made a mistake, haven't I? We've meleeed the guy. He should die now. See, we're in the trap. See, I'm wanting to not well, but that's not going to work out. There's a lot of Scions alive, so this actual damage rotation was lost, and I can't rocket him from here, so that's a waste. So this is the only part of the phase that this fight where I took longer than what I should have done. I'd have been better just using a well. Just use a well, and then for top plates, rely on surge switching, healing rifts, and debuff. I honestly didn't need to. Like, if there's no Scions alive, you can survive with just a healing rift and just edge the boss, but it ended up just costing the room more time than what it needed to. So, doing what I'm doing here, you don't need to. Just pop a well. That's what I would recommend. Or if you're using the Daybreak version of this, suppose you could do that. But this was my first Soul Falls, so it's not optimized. It's not fully optimized by no means. I have a base understanding of the dungeon to the point where if I was to go on a non-solar subclass, I'd have an idea of doing it, how to do it. But I'm just showing you the solar version so that people can, you know, get it done. This dungeon, though, if I admit it, it's based on you having health regen. The entire dungeon relies on you using a 3.0 build, and if you don't, the chances are of you doing it are a little tough. But the dungeon's based on that, so we play the game. I know the Infinite Restoration's dumb, the Devour builds and all that stuff is dumb to people, but that's what content is based around now. It's based around on the concept of you having infinite health. So if you don't run an infinite health build, you run something else, it's not effective. And that is where we're heading. Each dungeon has been like that. It started with duality, where there was infinite enemies spawn. Infinite enemies spawn in dungeons are fine. It's Battleground GMs where it's the problem. It's fine, but like I say, it means that we're playing this game of ability builds. Whereas your weapon builds are less effective unless it's an exotic primary, then it's fine. Right? So, you know, it's based on ability builds. That's what this whole dungeon's based on. I'm really curious to see this dungeon, what it's going to be like without Solo Operator, without Solar Artifact mods. This dungeon's going to be actually really difficult without these stuff. Right? You're going to have to really play your heart out with it. And you try and do a Striker Titan run on this. Try and see how far you get with Striker Titan. I wonder if anyone's done a Striker Titan so far. If they haven't, they should. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's going to be completely different to what this is. And that's just what my issue is with the game, but it's like Reckoning, basically. They have to spawn bosses behind you to kill you. Well, in this sense, we're that powerful, they have to throw that many enemies arrows to make it somewhat challenging. But that's based, as I said, on you having the build. If you try to pre-impose a rule on yourself by using a bad loadout like I do, that ain't going to work too well. It's going to be more of a pain than what it's worth to do. Probably. That's just me saying that. Now, this is good RNG. This is how it should be. You get 2 traps. Right? Now I can collect 2 traps and I'm good. The timing works out perfect. We've transferred buff, which will come up on your screen that you have. Right, make sure he dies. He could have hit us again there. We actually edged the boss's HP. So we've actually done another phase. We ended up doing 3 phases on one play. Enemies have spawned, which is unfortunate, so we've had to disengage. That's just unfortunate. Sounds spawned just as that happened, but that's fine. It's the same outcome. We could have got more damage in there. That's actually cost us the 2 phase. This plate was the problem. But on the next time round I do it, I end up just welling. So it was my bad for trying to experiment with something else. I should have just popped a well, rather than trying to save a well for up top. What I will say is, though, all this ammo you see on the floor, you can come back for. So this boss fight is actually insane. You can wait every phase. If you wanted to, you could wait each plate for your melee and ammo drops. Because the ammo, you can come back down here and not start the next plate up. You're not timed, there's no risk. So every time you step on a plate, it starts. But if you jump off and don't go to the next plate, it won't start until you're ready. So that's one thing that makes this easy. It does. So technically you could wait for a well for each plate if you really wanted to. But because of how intellect works now, you wouldn't get your super. It would the time that would take, you would be in here forever doing that. So you don't need to do that. But technically you can, I'm just saying. That's how you would solo one phase. Technically. But the solo one phase would take that long on this loadout that it wouldn't be worth doing it. It would be quicker just to solo two phase. Do you see what I'm saying? So we've popped a well on this plate with all damage, everything, surge swapping and everything. We're going to go back down though for some more ammo. I am losing my armor charges though. So that is a bad thing. So I'm going to try and... I'm going to jump back up. I'm going to lose my armor charges, but we've got ammo for the next two plates, which is good. We've got no debuff melee, but we've got a healing rift. We'll pop healing rift first, rocket, and then sniper. We've got no debuff, so we'll just go in with this. I could have procced radiant by my hand cannon, but I just didn't choose to do that. You could run a solar sidearm that's rapid fire and try and proc radiant quicker. That's one thing. Looking back at it now, I should have maybe done. So then I'm getting radiant each phase. So there's tips and tricks on how to increase DPS with this boss. There's loads. And there might be better videos than mine that showcase that, to be honest. This is my first solo flawless. And if you check more solo flawless runs for this, they're long, they're 55 minutes. 55 minutes. For their first version. And then after that, that's where your improvements come. But that's how it's always worked with this game. We have no healing nade, so I'm going to pop a rift. I need to swap my surge build off so that I can start gaining charges again. And then we'll start killing these initial sounds. The wizards are going to spawn. I have no healing nade just yet. Have to be careful. There's plenty of cover here, I will say that. Like I said, with the blights on the floor, you don't need to take them out. There's only 2 instances where I take them out. That's on plate 1, left-hand side blight you see to your left. And then on plate 2, I deal with them as well on the right-hand side, because that's where I get the trap. Because these blights will push you out. So if you're trying to collect the trap and the blight's up, it's going to push you off the blight, losing crucial time. The timing is quite tight. I'm very surprised on the timing for this, that it can be quite tight. If you're lucky with the way I do it, sometimes you can get free traps and that'll extend DPS even longer. It didn't happen on this run. Like if I rocket a mini boss and he happens to put up a trap and he gets killed by Dragon's Breath and I kill the other mini boss, I'll get 3 traps. If that happens, good stuff, but there's a little RNG to it, and also it means that you don't wait. It means that it means that you instantly kill. Like I prefer just instantly killing the enemies, because Imminent Wish is already stacking, it's already clocking down. So if you're waiting for a mini boss to put down a trap, you could lose 6-7 seconds, and it could induce a wipe just because you're waiting for a damn Scorn enemy to put down a trap. I'm not a fan on it. That's what I'm saying. I'm more of a fan of just killing both Scorn enemies, and it's more consistent for generally getting both traps. Generally. That time we were just shy of getting that trap though, so we lost damage there. That's another thing as well, is they are spread out a little bit. So we lost 5 seconds of damage there, so... The trap was almost collected as well, that's the thing. But this build is good for burst damage, there's no doubt there. It is a very good base damage setup. So if you only get 1 trap, you're still actually going to hit the minimum requirement for damage. So there's a lot to be said about that as well. We're back to plate 2 again, pop heal and nade. Scions. This obviously you farm a super per plate. That's what the strategy is revolving around, right? So per plate you're getting a super. You're not doing it without a super because with the infinite spawn of Scions, chances are they're spawning during DPS. So it's worth your time to have a super for every damage that you do, which on Well of Radiance is fine to do because it's on the quicker rate of recharge rate, base recharge rate. I think it still is, or they might have changed that, I'm not sure. But I'm getting plenty of wells, especially with orbs. Like, we've just got onto this plate. I'm 60%, 70% of my super, so it's worth the time to do that. Just don't shoot all the eyes on the boss until you're ready. There's infinite spawn enemies, which means infinite ammo, technically. Just depends on how prepared you are to wait for ammo. Sometimes you might not get the special ammo that you want. If you're low on sniper ammo and you've got none, it's not worth starting another phase up. You may as well wait till you get the bricks off the Scions. Just about got our super, so we'll do our Dragon's Breath, double Dragon's Breath. Try and get the stick, it'll be more consistent if you can. But use a bit of sniper ammo as well. The quicker you get down, you know, one of the spawn enemies, the better it is for the getting two traps. So we've got our melee off. We're Phoenix Dive away. We're ahead of a time curve. We've got 10 seconds on Imminent Wish. We'll start capping this plate. The guy will die from your melee after so long. I don't know what the timing is on it, but he generally does after so long. Pop well. Rocket debuff. Sniper ammo. Just dump your sniper ammo. You can rocket again if you want back into the phase, but I don't think you need to too much. Just focus on the ammo. Just focus on the sniper. If you're using this particular sniper, because you can dump all your ammo in there. Damage is looking okay, decent. That was better on that plate. So you can see how all the mistakes from the previous plates of not getting us trapped just in time and stuff has sacrificed our damage just a little bit. It's just meant that we're slightly out of Solar Two-Phase territory because of that. It's just how it is. Like I say, if you want to do this differently where you wait for traps, you can, but I think it's a little annoying doing it like that because you're waiting at the boss. Like, if he would just put his trap up right away, like, it's nothing more annoying. So, this dungeon is an actual dungeon. Like, this is the... Like, I know, you know, your Shattered Throne's a dungeon and stuff, but this is what an actual dungeon is. You're going into a castle, it's like very medieval. The theme on it's perfect. It's a very good dungeon, it's got nice flow. What my complaint is, it got me thinking, so we've all played the game Elden Ring. Well, I haven't, but I know all of you have. Because I don't get time to play those types of games. But we've all played that game, right? Yous have all played it. Right, well, what's the strength about Elden Ring? Well, you're exploring an open world, and then you come across a dungeon. A secret dungeon. So just imagine for 1 second that that's how we had to find this dungeon. That it was in the open world EDZ. Because that's where this dungeon's located, in the EDZ. So imagine if, like Shattered Throne, that it was activated via some world event. That would go over so much better rather than just selecting a node in orbit. So what I'm saying is, rather than gifting us the dungeon in our orbit screen, right, so if the dungeon's on EDZ, you need to go to EDZ and find the dungeon. Now, I know that people could go on YouTube and find this stuff, but that's fine. It would be so much better. Like, imagine that it was part, you know, it was a little flag that you go to. Like Shattered Throne was the original Shattered Throne in Forsaken. It was so secret. I mean, they can't say that there's not going to be dungeons because it's part of their deal, their package when they're advertising DLCs. But they can definitely have them in the open world space that you go and find the flag somewhere secret. So that would then be an actual dungeon. You're actually having to try and find this dungeon. Like, little things like that. This game's has the most potential of any game in the last 10 years. 5 to 10 years. But they fail to capitalize on that potential because money, staffing, culture's changed now. Destiny 2's pre-established, the store carries them. They don't need to do stuff like that. Whereas in Forsaken, they had to do stuff like that. In D1, they had to do stuff like that, or they wanted to do stuff like that. Nowadays, it feels like you've got to push them to do stuff, Bungie, that is. You've got to fight with them and tell them, we want this, and it's like, they won't give you it. Then the community complains long enough for them to give us it. And it's just this constant fight of, just make the game fantastic, right? And builds isn't the only answer. Builds isn't the game. Fair enough, that gives us builds, yeah. Fair enough, but there's so many more aspects of the game other than just builds. To be honest, I wouldn't really be playing D2 at the minute. The only reason why I am is for this dungeon. And when I've got on this week and played the dungeon, it's fantastic, it's amazing. It makes you feel good about the game again. But outside of dungeons and GMs and raids, what else is there to do in the game? You're just chasing red borders. That's all you're doing other than that. And that's the problem. Your open world aspect needs to come into play. We need to have world bosses where you need to get players together. There's leaks of 12-man activities coming. What did I tell you over 12 months ago? For people who have been following me, I said they need to do 12-man activities. That's the future. That's the future of the game, is to do 12-man stuff and even do 12-man raids. Have a higher scope of the game. I mean, maybe not 12-man raids. They maybe won't want to do that. But you can have 12-man patrols. 12-man patrollable planets. I'm sure that it's in the game tech now to do it. I know the Tiger engine and all that stuff, but technically the Tiger's engine is newer than what people think, right? And they're constantly getting better with it as well. If they are going to do a 12-man thing for Final Shape, then let's get 12-man patrollable planets as well. But they would have to rework the way patrol works. It needs to have something extra to it, so that it's worth endgame. There needs to be an endgame patrol version somehow. How they do it, I don't know, but that's something that they need to do. If I'd waited for my melee here, I would have got the Silver Two-Face. So it just goes to show, don't be impatient about stuff, right? I could have went and hid on that other plate, wait for melee regen, and then I would have got the Two-Face done. And this rocket, damn rocket's not loading. So yeah, that costs us the Two-Face, but you can see, if you watch my gameplay there, the solo Two-Face on that isn't a problem at all. But it's also not a problem to lose it as well. Because I'll tell you why, you can re-farm ammo up for Final Stand. Because Final Stand you can die. And I bet some people out there have died on Final Stand because there is cover, but there isn't. Kind of is and isn't. But having full ammo for Final Stand was actually quite nice. So it didn't matter. It just adds a couple of minutes to the run. That's all it does. So I'll just speed the footage up because you've seen the mechanics. You've seen how I do it. This is just my recommendation how I do it. My strategy might evolve in the dungeon as time goes by, because you know I'll be doing a couple of solo flawlesses. I've got other characters to do. We'll maybe do non-solo runs, you know, etc. I know the Strand's really good in this, but there's always that. We'll just edge the boss. We're not doing full damage. Right, now we're at Final Stand. They've patched the thing where you can go down to the other side of the map and just use Wish Ender or something. Obviously I've missed all that, but I believe that you could do that. But I did test it and I got a no turn back zone, so I believe they patched that out at some point. I don't know when they done it, but I know that it has been patched. So we'll just do our well and our rocket strat, and that will be the soul force for the Warlord's Ruin. Like I say, I think I would give it a 9 out of 10 dungeon, like 9 out of 10 for how it is. It's the most, like I say, it's a good experience anyways, I will say that. But that was Soul Force for this. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.